So scientific result because
We can do that for the next.
by the way, today I have the department also. I'm preparing a lot of slides, so I cannot stay here listening.
Yeah.
But I will be very interested in what you come to find. Because I have my microphone and we're also developing a work so for the monitoring of the modeling. So this is actually, I think this is a very important topic. Yeah, sure. Questa è la famosa telecamera automatica.
Sì, però non sono riuscito a convincere.
E devo comprare una di queste qua. Possibile che non abbiamo una
Noi abbiamo per le conferenze.
sì, perché dopo ti segue automaticamente.
No, questa no, questa è fissa, però ha una buona qualità, quindi se lo orienti bene, ha un angolo abbastanza grande.
No, lo potrei anche quando faccio il consiglio in telematico che è loro proiettano.
Noi l'abbiamo, sì,
Esatto.
l'abbiamo girato, di solito non abbiamo fatto cose più da messa lì, cosa per loro.
Me la potresti pensare per lo stato del consiglio di oggi?
Sì, proviamo.
E come bisogna collegarla?
Adesso poi ti faccio vedere, però se vuoi vai un pochino
Prima in
consiglio, così vediamo cosa succede. So you can use the mic then.
Non hai quello
È scarico.
per scarico? Questi sono tutti studenti? C'è anche internazionale?
Sì, Andrea aveva dato la notizia anche sulla cosa di dottorato, quindi sono i nostri PhD.
Signori.
Laurenzia,
Possiamo?
vai.
È acceso? No? Questo.
Usa questo che così non facciamo male. Questo adesso l'accedo.
Hello, good morning. I'm Gaudenzio Meneghesso, the director of this department. I'm very happy to be here to introduce Randi Karlsen, professor from Norway University in Norway, in Tromsø. I would really like to go to visit your wonderful country. I mean, today, unfortunately, I cannot stay with you to follow all the seminar, but I think what Randi is going to show you is extremely important. I believe the future of our, let's say, well-being will be the ability to monitor us. Today, when you have a disease and we go to the doctor, it's too late. The idea is to be monitored and to be advised in advance that you're going to have a disease. So then when you go to the doctor, the cure will be much less impact. You will cost less to the community and your body will be much better cured, okay? So what you will see today is to use a system to monitor yourself. And I'm sure this will be the future of us, okay? To have a good monitoring of our well-being for a better life, okay? So I'm sure that Randi will give you a very interesting talk, and I wish you a very fruitful listening, and thank you for coming. Our pleasure to have you here in our department, okay? Thank you very much, and enjoy the seminar.
Thank you, and thank you for having me here. I'm very pleased about staying in Italy. Does everyone hear me? Goodness. So I will talk about nurturing, personalized, context-aware nurturing. That is about gently pushing people to influence their behavior. First, I will tell you a bit about where I come from. So this is not. Where do I push? Okay, thank you. So I come from Tromsø, which is possible. Okay, this is Tromsø is behind the black thing up there. So it's far north in Norway. It's a small city of 7,000 inhabitants, but it is the largest city in northern parts of Norway. And we are located above the Arctic Circle, so we have 2 months of midnight sun during summer and 2 months of polar nights during winter. And it is also the main location for the northernmost university in the world. Which is called UiT, the Arctic University of Norway. It was started in 50 years ago, so we are very, very young compared to you. There were approximately 400 students then. Now there is approximately 18,000 students, with 12,000 of them in Tromsø. It's a multi-campus university, so we are located at all those red dots. And most of these red dots are on the mainland of Norway. One of the dots are in Spitsbergen, which is very far north compared to Tromsø. I belong to the computer science department. We have 27 tenured faculty position at the moment. We have grown actually the last 6 years or so. We have approximately 30 PhD students, which is a number which is also growing. And we have approximately 400 graduate and undergraduate students. And we have research groups having a look at Arctic green computing, artificial intelligence, cyber physical systems, security group, we have health informatics group, and the one I belong to, which is called the Open Distributed Systems Group. And we are also multi-campus. We are located at, in addition to Tromsø, we are located at 2 other of those red dots that we saw. Okay. We have education at all these levels, to be a bachelor, master, and PhD level. Sorry. And we have study programs. The oldest one is the core computer science study program, where we have a focus on systems. We have health technology, cybersecurity, and artificial intelligence. So this is what our students can choose among. At the department, we have always, I would say, had an emphasis on systems. So we are concerned with making the students understand, have skills in the design and the implementation of systems that solve real problems. So we are experimental. All our courses have a significant lab. We teach the graduate courses in English, and we have students from different countries in Europe, Asia, Africa, and occasionally someone also from America. So the group I belong to, we have been there as a group for a long time. And the department has had a focus on distributed systems for the 35 last years, 35 plus, I would say. And we have been concerned with interoperability among those distributed systems. That's kind of in the core of what we have been doing for many years. But this illustration here is trying to give a clue about what we are and have been doing over the years. So data management has been important to us. We've done something on information retrieval, middleware, correctness and consistency for transactions. We are working on reducing IoT devices, sensors. We have tested near-field communication, mobility, web services. And now it's, or for some time now, we have been concerned with localization and context awareness. And currently, the project I'll talk about is then about smart motion. Just to briefly mention a few of the projects which I've been either leading or been part of the last years. The first one here is called context-aware image management, which is where we focused on focus images and the metadata connected to those photos. And the metadata were location and time. So based on location and time, and in some situations also on one keyword given by the user, we had developed prototypes for automatic image tagging, for automatically describing an image collection as a whole. And also we had a system that, given an image, collected information from different online sources and provided the user with information about what the user saw in the image and also about the location where the image was taken. And even though we had only location and time as the starting point, we actually had pretty good precision for in this prototype. We've had a project on, or participated in a project on using NFC, near field communication, where we also provided systems services for information exchange, access, linking, and payment. There's been several health-related projects, and the one or the most important challenge of the projects I've been part of has been this the existence of misleading online health information. And since we are mainly receiving our health information from the internet, this is a big problem. So we have created algorithms, methods that help users to find trustworthy health information, or at least filter out the really bad things. And so we have the smart nurturing system, or smart nurturing project, which I will talk now. Okay, nurturing is a term from economics and political theory for influencing decisions and behavior using suggestions, positive reinforcement, and non-coercive, another non-coercive means, in order to achieve socially desirable outcomes. So basically, this is, we want to change people's behavior in, as it said, socially desirable, to give socially desirable outcomes. This is a phrase from Thaler and Sundström, which wrote a book on nurturing, which is often referred to as the nudge Bible. And nurturing, we find that we are of course interested in nurturing in the digital environment, but we have a lot of nurturing in the real world too. So if you enter a building and immediately see the stairs, but have to look around in order to find the elevator, that is setting up the building to nudge you to take the stairs. Another example is when they position the food, the cafe, for example. So the healthy food can be positioned at eye level, where it is easily seen. You immediately see that, while the unhealthy food is there. You can, it's not removed. You can buy them if you want, but it is positioned at the side, so you basically have to look around. But nurturing in a digital environment is, according to Meske and Pithoff in the paper they wrote, is using design and information and interaction element to guide user behavior in digital environments without restricting the individual's freedom of choice. So the last part here is, we are talking about smart nurturing, and that's why we include personalization and context awareness. We believe that nurturing is best when you actually can tailor the nudge to the person you are approaching. So matching, when a nudge matches the user's current situation and support the decision that the user is to make at the moment, that's better. So to do personalization, we of course need information about the user and about the user's abilities, preferences, pattern of behavior, which we collect in the user profile. basically through user monitoring, but also using explicit information given by the user. Context awareness, that's about the surrounding of the user. The environment, the location where the user is, how busy the user is at the moment. All of this is taken into account, or we want to take that into account when we are designing nudges. And we have a number of nudging, digital nudging and smart nudging can be used in different situations for different purposes, for different to serve different goals. We have had a look at two of those, or at two cases. It's nudging to support increased, or to support people to be physically active, and nudging to support people to choose environmentally friendly transportation alternatives. So physical activity and green transportation. A new case for us is sustainable energy consumption, which we will go into. PhD has started looking at this, and this is something we will have a look at in the future. And there are basic challenges and basic techniques for nudging that has a general focus that goes apart, or that are useful for all these different pieces. So let me give you an example of a nudge. This is not taken from a running system. It's an interface only, illustrating what a nudge can look like. There are, of course, a lot of different possibilities for how we can present a nudge. But it consists so this nudge here is presented on the mobile, and we find that device to be useful when giving nudges because it is personal. It's always there. Most of us never leave the phone behind anywhere. And also it is possible to monitor the use of this device. And this one here, this nudge here, suggests a trip to a mountain near Tromsø. We present some textual information about the activity, also kind of praising this, pointing to the magnificent view. There's an illustrating image, which is there to be a teaser or an incentive to go there. If it looks nice, you might want to be there. It includes information about the trip itself, the difficulty. No, it's difficult to point here, but anyway, the difficulty, the length, the estimated duration of the time. There's a link to more information. We have weather information there. And this is something that can be provided in a nudge, presented in this country. So we envision, or we an overall architecture for this nudging project do for us look like this, where we see the need for a set of services to collect data from sensors, from online sources, from people. That's the blue dots. All these different type of services in order to get information that we might need. Then the green ones here are a set of services for analyzing data. Taking data from subset of these sources available, extracting relevant and useful information for the nudges, which you find where you have the application of services at the bottom here, which inform and nudge people. So, and there's a lot of lines. So one sensor service may serve different, or maybe used as input in different analysis services, which again may be used in one or more applications for nudging. An architecture for a smart nudging system is currently what we have here. In the center here, we have the nudge design component of the system, which is relying on information from about the user in order to personalize nudging. So at the top, we have suggestions for personal data, samples of personal data, like interest, capabilities, behavior, body sensor data, previous activities, which is represented then, or goes into the user profile and is ready there for being used for designing a nudge. There is always a nudging goal for such a system. And for each goal, there are relevant activities that can be selected. We need information from different sources, online resources like weather information, information about trips or trails that the user can follow, IoT devices such as pollution or conditions in the ski trail, crowdsourced information. All this is used also, can be used for nudge design. And we have the user context, which locate with the location and calendar, where you find information about when the user is, when does the user have some events or meetings, or when is the user available to do something else. So out of this nudge design component comes a smart nudge, which is given to the user, and the system will also monitor the reaction to those nudges in order to understand what the user kind of responds positively to and what the user do not really want. And this is used as feedback again to design future. So we see a nudge as consisting of different nudge components. It's the activity, which is selected for the specific nudge. It's an influence, which motivates the user to choose this specific activity. It should make it tempting, so to speak. We also have a content component, which is basically practical information that makes it easy for us to do what is suggested. Time frame, the suggested time for doing the nudge, and the nudge also need to be presented. So there may be some presentation properties, how to present, and this can be described through some diagrams. So again, to an example, how a new mountain near Tromsø. It's a specific nudge for this specific trip up to this mountain. And we have a lot of information linked to that specific trip. It tells what type it is. It's a hike, the length, the duration of the trip, the grading. It's not very difficult. This is an easy trip. The season when it is recommended to go there. Elevation. There can be descriptions and maps of where it is, how to get there. It can be about parking and bus connections and whatever is necessary or needed in a nudge in order to find it, in order to do exactly this activity. It's a link to more information. It's an image again to show that it should actually be an image from the same day as the nudge is given, so you can actually see that it's nice up there, or that rain is not hindering the site. Okay, so we have weather forecast information, and even suggestions for clothing and preparing the skis can be there. So there's there's a huge possibility of information that you can put into a nudge. So the consideration or the concern is what is necessary and what is not. And also for a user not known to this area, a lot of information might be needed. Or an experienced user only, but probably don't need anything else, only the weather perhaps. But a nudge is not a nudge without an influence. And there are very many different ways you can influence people. So I have listed some influence types. The first one there, simplification, is about this is about making it or it's removing options or simplifying things for the user. And this is done through here it is by providing the information that we saw, which makes it easy to choose the activity. Affect is about evoking some emotions or the user. Well, okay. The image here can make it tempting to go, and also a text saying like enjoy your lunch with a spectacular view can also make it tempting to go. So it evokes feelings at the user. Loss aversion. This is something we know from stores, online stores. It's about avoiding it's about not losing an opportunity. And in this setting, it can be something like a text, something like, it will rain tomorrow, have a nice walk today in marvelous weather. There can be some social influence, can join join a friend. There can be plain information, just telling them the health benefits of being active. Or you can have signed up for some top 2 challenge or some specific goal that the nudge can use as an incentive. And the time frame suggests the activity for this evening or for Sunday morning or something. So these influence types, they are closely linked to psychological effects for behavioral change. And as you see, some of I gave examples for some of those. There are others. I will not mention, only mention one. The priming here, which give cues for triggering association. So it can be presented through an image also. And it's about, it is to give the user an association who want to behave. And I have an example, I don't know. Yeah, okay. This is the same, this is a nudge for the same mountain. And now it's not an image from the mountain itself. It's rather an image of a hero, superhero. And this is how you might feel when coming on top of this. So it's triggering an association to something you want. Up here we use an image of the northern lights, which is also can be. It's not the mountain itself, but it is something you might see up there. So to the other use case that we have. Now we're talking about transportation and modes of transportation, like using your car sharing, taxi, public transportation of different sorts, or you can get there yourself through walking, cycling, skiing. And these are the activities that we can use in a nudge. And we rank these according to the environmental friendliness. So car is less green than carpooling, which is less green than walking. So, and there may of course be other activities, more activities than we have here. The difference between the physical activity use case and this one is that in the physical activity, we might have very specific, large number of very specific trades, for example, that notion. While here there are less activities, fewer. But also the nudging in this environment is time sensitive. You need to get the nudge at the right time in order to catch the bus, in order to get to work, to be at the morning meeting. So you need to know exactly when to give a nudge, which is not that important in the previous case. Should also be said that in the physical activity type of nudging, we can also go for pretty generic nudging. We don't need these traits and a lot of information. We can just nudge or go for a walk. And still, that can be personalized according to time. And we can monitor the user and we can push the user. User-related information, which is useful for green transportation. So we have a travel history where a departure from location A, destination B was started at time 1 and arrived at time T, and we used transportation choice T. So this is what has previously been done. It's the same as we need to do in the physical activity use case. We need to monitor activity. Either in the physical activity part, we need to monitor how far or how long the user has walked, or what kind of activities was done and when was it done. Same here, which activities, which transportation alternatives were used, when was it used. And it's also used to identify locations, which is frequently used by this user or travel. We have the current location of the user. We have the user's calendar with events. So an event E, which will start at T, have a duration D, and is located at A. So if the event and the user are not at the same location, there is a need for transportation. So a nudge might be needed. And also there are preferences given by the user that might interfere with the choice of nudging style. So we have different types of information. That goes for both use cases. Historical information, current information, plans and predictions. And what we choose to include in the specific implementation of a nudging system depends on what we find useful, which information is actually needed. Do we want to make this a simplistic nudging application, or do we want to make it more complicated, so to speak? Do we want to include more? Currently, we have a very simple nudging application, which we can add to. So we start small, and hopefully we can improve on that and make it more interesting as time goes. So historical information is the past activities, history of nudges and user responses to that. It can also have history of sensor data in order to know the environment where the user is living. You have the current data, like sensor data, like for current pollution level, weather information, traffic conditions, timetables for the bus, or the real-time data for the same bus. Plans, we find that in the calendar, schedule activities, for example, and activities committed by the user. And predictions, weather goes, you find weather, or we use weather a lot. It goes into both of these use cases. So predictions for the weather, again, crowdedness at some activities. There are many predictions that you can have that you might want to use if you find it sufficiently useful in the application. Okay, so personalization and context awareness. That impacts when to nudge. When an activity is necessary for the user to reach the nudging goal, or at least approach or get closer to the nudging goal. It is about when the user is available and can follow the nudge. So when to nudge, we need to trigger a nudge. And that depends on situation, but also on very much on the user's situation. What to nudge for? So an activity within the user's capability need to be selected. Needs to be relevant to the user's current situation. Where an influence type needs to be chosen, or one or more. So the system may favor influence types that have been successful in the past, but it may also try new ones. And what information is relevant to use? As I said, a user new to an activity might need a lot of information. An experienced user might need very, very little. And again, also how to present the nudge may have some personalization and context awareness aspects. So a nudge design may look like this. When you first understand the user and the situation, based on that, you select a targeted activity based on the set of relevant activities. Select information that is needed in order to present the nudge, and also the motivation with the influence part. And the nudges are evaluated. So over time, the system might detect patterns or detect patterns in the way users are responding to the nudges, and that may impact all these components. We have also found that it's necessary with we have identified some principles for smart nudge design. The important thing with a nudging system is to challenge the user. So it's not there to recommend something that the user would have done anyway. It's not there to recommend exactly the same as the user always does. It's there to challenge, to make the user stretch, to make the user go further or take a different trail, which is more challenging, or to, instead of taking the car, use the bus, or instead of using the bus, walk. So it is about influencing this behavior. Another principle is we have called consolidate. And that is when the system can detect improved behavior of the user. The goal may be for a period of time to stabilize the user at this new level. So we are not always pushing. If I'm always pushed, nothing is good enough for this system. I might actually delete it from my mobile phone because it annoys me. But recognizing that there are improvements and kind of take it easier with the nudging, let the user stay there, or take it easy with challenge. And then progress. It's about, after stabilizing the user at some level of activity, again, start gently challenging the user again to improve more. And it takes a lot of monitoring of the user to detect these kind of stages, these state changes. Also, if we find that variation might be nice, it's annoying to constantly get a nudge to stand, nothing else. It's time to stand. So varying nudges might make it more interesting and might make it may result in users actually accepting the nudge. Timeliness, a nudge should be given at the time when it is possible for the user to react to it, and when the nudge can be effective. Avoid impossible nudges. So if I don't have a bike, I shouldn't be nudged to go cycling. If I have a bad knee, I should not be nudged to walk very far. And also the very general principle here with don't annoy the user, which can cover a lot of different things and which is actually very depend very much on the individual. But it's there. It's a difficult principle. So we have a lot of challenges. It's about collecting and using this the information from multiple heterogeneous sources. It's how to collect, represent, and store this data, or to select and combine information. It's choices with respect to edge versus back-end processing and storing of data. We have personalization and context awareness to determine relevant context and personal information. Creating the profile. It's about challenges concerning the next nudge. What triggers a nudge? How do we detect that something is that a nudge is needed? How to determine the activity? All these components that we need to include in a nudge. Analysis. That's an important part. How to analyze data. So to detect user behavior and behavior pattern. Determine activity and what are we to give as the next nudge, and also to evaluate analysis to evaluate the effectiveness of nudge. We have presentation. We may need to expand and adapt a nudging system with new activities and new information sources. Privacy, of course, is a concern because we collect personal data, and ethics of nudging. And my last slide is about exactly that. It's about ethics on nudging. Because nudges are debate. It's a discussion. And some claims that there's a potential of manipulating people and presenting unfair nudges. But again, from Sunstein, which was one of the authors of this nudge Bible, he says that much of the answer, he says about the ethics of nudging, much of the answer depends on whether nudges promote or instead undermine welfare, autonomy, and dignity. Many nudges and those that deserve support promote some or all of these ideals and undermine none of them. So he at least believes in nudging and that it can be useful, but we need to be careful. And also transparency has been pointed out as a means in a way to safeguard against manipulation and safeguard against nudges that undermine the user's best interest. So as long as the user knows that he or she is nudged, we are better off in a way. So, but creating a mobile application for nudging. So if I download this app, I know it is a nudging app. I use it, still knowing that it is a nudging app. I basically want to be nudged. So I see the usefulness of being nudged. I want to be more physically active, but I have trouble doing it alone on my own. So such an application might be useful. So being very open about that this is actually nudging also is a safety. Okay. Thank you for listening.
Questions?
So, Randi, thank you for your talk. I was wondering why you presented the guidelines for nudging, like you don't have to nudge in this case, or it's counterproductive, or whatever. are these guidelines ever being used within a Rexis or a search system so that you say, well, I might suggest this product, I might suggest this movie or this activity to the user because it's connected, but it's better not because I'm pushing, or it's better to select this rather than this based on these principles and not on maximize sellings or whatever. Is there a reflection about that?
Well, as far as I know, these principles have not been used. It's kind of our principles. And they are there, not saying that others could not have the same principles, of course, but it is the specific, or with nudging, you need to, it's not a normal recommender system. It is a system which presents to the user something the user really don't want. It's not about finding a similar movie that you saw yesterday and really liked. It's about finding something new which kind of pushes the user towards. If it was a socially acceptable thing that users should go for horror movies, everyone should like horror movies. If that was something we really want in society, that would be to gently introduce horror movies into this, even though I hate it at the moment. So it's pushing. It's the pushing part which was the basis for those principles.
And yeah, in this respect, say that you have like Netflix with its Rexis, and you might have a new categories like nudging category. I want you to motivate you, and so it's not related to your previous choices, or maybe yes, but we try to diversify and be more ethical. I don't know, whatever. So do you see this as something viable? Are there literature about this specific integration?
Well, I've seen nudging in areas such as physical activity, health-related stuff. I have not seen that in relation to where someone want to sell you something. It's so there are a different goal in a way, at least compared to this ideal of being socially desirable and useful for the whole environment or community. Yeah, nudging is used absolutely, but I haven't seen it in that kind of way.
Yeah, and do you see that as kind of a greenwashing, like you use good principles but try to do something that is not good, and you're masking your intention? Say, I want to motivate you, but actually I want to sell you something, and
yeah, the bus company might actually want to well, doesn't we have that in society already, that they are saying they are green, but there are some hidden agenda there. Of course, you can have this in this kind of systems too. Cool. Right.
Other questions?
In line with the evaluation, so besides the content, so as you say, you should present something new. As a curiosity, are there any studies about how you can present the nudging message so in a way that it's effective? So is there any evaluation about how the content should be presented in order to be more acceptable for the user?
There are I need to think actually, because not within nudging community, because nudging, you have nudging and then you have persuasive systems, which are kind of close. In my mind, the nudging is one technique that kind of goes under the umbrella of persuasive system technologies. So, but nudging, there are very few studies, as I know of, that have actually tested out how to present, because there are so many different ways of doing it. So it is, yeah. It is known for this, the incentive, the influence types. They build on psychological, these psychological effects for behavioral change. And there has been a lot of study. So, but that's not within computer science. So it's not presenting a nudge on a mobile phone. It's about more in the real world, in the humanities area. Oh, yeah.
Other questions? Stefano?
Okay. Hi, and thanks for the talk. So, on the same lines of what John was saying, do you think that nudging could be used as a way to evaluate how aggressive, like current recommended systems or information material systems are in presenting the content or the way they pursue these to the users, like as a sort of metric to say how much you are pushing and so how much are you aggressive towards this?
When you say aggressive, are you talking about other systems or about nudging?
No, other systems like using nudging to evaluate these kind of things.
Yeah. Why not? Well, how you can do that, actually, you can, if you have a system which is kind of pushing you to buy something or something. Well, a nudging system is also pushing, but with a different goal. So, but you're saying, could the goal be testing other systems? It's worth thinking about.
And thanks very much for your talk. So one big problem with information access systems in general nowadays is with collecting user data and GDPR and privacy laws. So my question is, how would you nudge for asking the users to provide more data in a sensible way so that the recommended system might work better with their data?
Oh, I will pick a person for that. Well, first of all, privacy is a big concern. I'm completely agree. But also we have been thinking of where do we collect the data and where do we actually store it? Can we store most of the most sensitive data on your mobile phone, for example, and use it there only? Or do we need to share it with someone? How much processing can we do on the server side, and how much processing can we do on the edge? And I don't think we should push someone to provide more data. Actually, we should ask people, and if the system is sufficiently interesting, good, useful, the user will provide the data in order to use it. I don't think I will push someone. I don't think I will try to kind of manipulate them in a way to provide more data. And the usefulness need to be there. But of course, I think we are, for some people, they actually share more information about themselves than good is. It's so the first thing is to kind of put into people's mind that you shouldn't share too much information, and then share the information that you really find useful and safe to share in order to get what you need. So that's one thing, and it's about designing systems so that the personal data is kept safe. I don't know if that was actually an answer, but yeah.
Okay, I have a question could you give us a kind of technical intuition about how you do these systems? I mean, which kind of techniques, how do you represent the content, and also how do you check that all the constraints are complied with? I mean, do you use kind of recommendation? Do you use machine learning? How do you do that behind the scenes?
Well, we currently have a couple of PhD students working on the analysis part of this. But I believe that some classification will be useful. But again, classification of data, if we talk about that, that's as it normally is used. You classify according to something that has been previously, and then use this new data to. So since we need to push, it's not only about. No, I'm not answering you now. So well, with data that if we're talking about the data that we collect, it's I don't think there's too much consistency problems concerning this data. They are rather different in a way. If that was part of what you asked me. So we are collecting weather data. We are collecting data from a calendar. We are collecting data from many different sources that can be put together if needed. So our main problem at the moment is to kind of filter, is to determine what is the useful data. If we have a sensor, a series of data from a sensor, for example. Not that we are using that too much at the moment, but which kind of data are interesting? What do we store at this? So it depends on how we are using it. So no, I'm not answering. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, but it was just to understand in a broad sense which kind of techniques. I mean, you were showing how to suggest a trail. Okay, so what do you use? You have a collection of possible trails. How do you know which kind of trail matches better with the user profile? You do by content, description of the trail, by distance, by easiness. What do you kind of things do you do?
Yeah, exactly. That is so the trails we find described on alltrails.com, or in Norway we have some similar web pages where the properties of these trails are available. And when we monitor the user, find out which previous trails, or we count steps to detect continuous activity, to find out how far the user is actually walking. When does the user walk? Is it in the afternoon? Are there short walks in afternoons, or longer walks in the weekend, for example? And we find patterns in that. So I think we can at least, well, now in the beginning we are using simplistic methods. We are not involving any I should say complicated or heavy algorithms for machine learning and this kind of things. We're just counting currently. It will probably not be sufficient, but currently we stick to the simplistic methods of doing this, and we find a pattern in a way among what the user is doing, and then compare to the properties of the trails, for example. But again, we have students having a closer look at this, so hopefully they will come up with something more useful than what we currently have.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Okay, so thank you very much again.
We are done. It's time for lunch. And I know I have to sign stuff for the PhD students, so let me know what I have to do.
Se avete anche una penna.
Io sì.
Grazie.
It's fine, I can't see it.
Okay.
I think you understand you. Sì, ok.
Oggi
Sai come devo rispondere?
26. Enjoy.
Anche qua, qua funziona a Torino. Può tenere la pena, che tanto è di ripartimento.
Ah, ok, ne fai un'altra, grazie.
Per un'altra.
Prego.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci, buona giornata.
Anche tu,
Grazie. 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 Ammazza ormai, non sapevo che ci aveste pure i foglietti.
Gli autografi.
Grazie.
non ho ancora compilato, però.
Buon divertimento con la compilazione. Prego. Grazie.
Sì, solo termini di giorni diversi. Grazie.
Prego. E dopo se lo scrive.
Grazie.
Che sta parlando dietro che vuole avere un po' di
Grazie. Grazie. Ammazza, mi sembra di essere tornato a quando avevamo i registri cartacei.
Grazie mille.
Vai uno. Grazie. Grazie. Prego. Seminario. Come?
La ragazza che lei chiama.
Grazie.
È tanto male.
No, dai, ma io devo iniziare a fare.
Allora, ho detto non quello veloce.
Ammazza, dove l'ha messa questa?
Ha piovuto, ce l'ho
Perché è sempre con lei. Grazie. Ciao Francesco. Grazie. Grazie.
Adesso il modulo, come possiamo andare a stamparlo? Lo troviamo qualche momento tardi? Poi gli lasciamo l'indirizzo email, magari glielo mandiamo via tardi e ce lo firma
settimana prossima.
ok.
Ok.
Gli possiamo
No, facciamo più semplice. Me lo lasciate in cassetto delle lettere al DG, ok? Così trovo lì il pezzo di carta, lo firmo e poi lo rimetto.
Ok, grazie mille. Grazie.
Prego. Ciao, Iso. Questa cosa dei moduli è incredibile. Ciao.
Grazie mille.
Arrivederci.
Sì, sono in caso non lo compilavo in realtà prima, però
Sì, sì, va.
facciamo
così.
Esatto, sì, sì.
Buon divertimento con la compilazione.
Ok.